Back on midday now, and it's Monday, and it's time for our weekly walk back through time. This week, we recall an incredible tale of survival, the rebirth of Chippewa, and the still unfulfilled promise of high-speed rail. Dave McKinley has more about when those stories and more were all news to you.
10 years ago this week.
Welcome to the new Buffalo.
Welcome to the new Buffalo.
It was the new campaign to promote the Queen City.
I like it. I think it's great.
Another new idea for the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Base came from demonstrators who opposed its continued operation as a military installation.
To make this into a gigantic solar array.
Okay, moving right along. It was the week we learned Buddy Nix was out as general manager of the Bills, and when the whole nation learned the IRS under the Obama administration had indeed been targeting conservative groups for at least a couple of years before that was exposed this week in 2013. 20 years ago this week, reporters were on the edge of their seats to finally hear the first-hand account of a young hiker and outdoor enthusiast named Aaron Ralston, who had quite the survival tale to tell. This week's News to You pop quiz: what were the most incredible means used by Aaron Ralston to escape certain death in a canyon, living to be able to tell about it some 2 decades ago? It was the same week that James Kopp was sentenced to life in prison for the sniper slaying of Amherst abortion provider Dr. Barnett Slepian. When kids under 18 seeking to skirt a new state law forbidding them from getting tattoos were just getting around it by going to Canada. When SARS was such a concern in some places that they ran out of masks and began fashioning them from bras. And when the full Monty was playing at Shays, and when then, just as now, we can't show you the finale from this week in 2003. 30 years ago this week, whilst firing up the car phone, perhaps to make a date for drinks at the Pier restaurant on the Outer Harbor, previously known as Shooters, previously known as Breakers, and now an empty lot where they pile snow in the winter, Amtrak brought in a train from Sweden called the X2000 to demonstrate the possible wonders of high-speed rail in upstate New York.
A train like the X2000 is very likely to have a role in our future.
Yeah, well, we've been waiting for that as long as we've been waiting for the restoration of the Central Terminal. But there were a few things looking up downtown.
Once considered one of the dirtiest places around, Chippewa Street is fastly gaining a reputation as the hippest place around. 25 of the 41 units available here have been sold already.
But the economy around here was still abysmal. In fact, listen to what this counselor at Buff State was telling students to do after they graduated.
I'd move.
But as bleak as that seemed, the news was worse from one of our friends across town.
For a news anchor from one station to seek and get coverage from his competitors must have been a matter of life and death. And so it was.
I have been fighting a battle with leukemia.
In the time he had left, which wasn't all that much, before he died at the age of 47, Bob Coop used that time to urge others to become bone marrow registrants.
Oh, don't get me wrong, all these years later, we are still going neck and neck every day with those other guys. However, from time to time, we are reminded that we are colleagues as much as competitors. And one of those times came this week in 1993, when it was all news to you.
Thank you, Dave. So here is the answer to this week's News to You pop quiz. We asked if you recalled the extraordinary measures a hiker named Aaron Ralston took to save his own life when his arm got trapped under a boulder in a canyon out west. Well, in case you've forgotten, Ralston had to break his own arm. Then he amputated it himself with a knife in order to escape. Today, he is 47 years old. He is a motivational speaker, and he still enjoys mountaineering.
I totally remember that.
Yeah.
And I mean...
And they made a movie about it.
Oh, they did?
I think so. I never saw it, but...
I think you're right. I think you're right. Incredible bravery, and I mean, just to think about doing that.
Right.
Amazing.